Hey everyone, this is Brett Favre, Green Bay Packers Super Bowl champion, and you're watching Packers Total Access Live, your daily source for Packers content. Go Packers.
What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. Joined alongside Jacob in Wisconsin here to talk some Packers as the trade rumor got completely fired up today. I know everybody's it seems like there's no in between. You've got the majority of the people saying bring on DK Metcalf, and then you got others going, we're going to give up a first-round pick for that dude plus $30 million a year. What are we doing here? So we're going to dive into all that and talk about how the rumor got started and whether or not there may or may not be validity to the story. I apologize for the voice. Hopefully we can make this through here and it doesn't sound any worse than my dumb redneck accent sounds most of the time anyway. So Jacob, how you doing, bub?
I'm doing great, man. I was going to ask, you sound a little hoarse there in the throat region.
Yeah. Over here in the throat region. So it's that time of year. You know how it is, man. So when you get to be my age, you start to wonder what the hell's going on. And I think I'm dealing with some stomach ulcers myself. So last night was a late night of just praying to the porcelain god, and the voice is gone. So that's what that's all about. So
I've been there.
Yeah, been there. Got the T-shirt, right, Jake?
Yes, sir.
So, now, all right, let's go in the chat real quick. I had a couple of them. Mark Jarrell Lee. Maxwell Harrison moving up on the draft board comparison to my second favorite corner behind Denzel Ward. Not sure who that is, to be honest with you. I'm sure he's on the board though.
I think it means the Denzel Ward, Ohio State cornerback.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Make the call. Goody is what he said. Yeah, Maxwell Harrison, obviously you guys know I watched him play at Kentucky for a few years, being a big Kentucky fan, unfortunately. But he had a down year this year, but, man, it sounds like he's starting to turn heads at the combine for sure there, Jacob. So
I believe he ran a 4.3 flat on attempt number 1, came back in, and he said, I'm bound and determined to be a 4.2 guy, and he did hit 4.29, and then the official reading came back as a 4.28 last I read. So
no. So they did did they do the recount on him? Did they
yes.
Go back and check the radar, check the laser, if you will. I don't know, man. I've got the combine on right now. It's showing the tight ends. I don't even know if it's live. I think it is.
I think it is.
But it's been a lot of fun kind of seeing the information come in. I get to this point, honestly, Jacob, I'm excited to get to this point, but I'm like waiting for everything to be finalized so we can update our board, you know. So it's kind of the wait. It's the hurry up and wait. But Maxwell Harrison obviously helping himself today. So let's see here. Chris Ian says, is it true Goody offered the 23rd pick for DK Metcalf? He says some bad words. He says, I hope not. So
GD, I hope not.
Yeah. So yeah, that seems to be one side of the reaction, right? And we're going to dive into all of it. J. Cole, Trey Amos look good at the combine. I completely agree. Jay, completely agree. So
absolutely.
Yeah. So we'll bring you guys information in real time here. As if we hear of anything crazy, Jacob, you just shout it out. But let's go and talk about the topic of the day here, and that's obviously the DK Metcalf conversation. The 33rd team put this tweet out, but I want to focus on what they tagged in this tweet right here. This is where everything, to the best of my knowledge, got started. Okay, Corbin K. Smith at Corbin Smith NFL. I want to say he's got over 20,000 followers. He obviously I'm pretty sure he covers the Seahawks. I'm not here to try to disprove him or prove him right. We're just going to report what we heard and let everybody draw their own conclusions. But he says, based on what I've heard, that don't sound good right off the bat, right?
No.
For Seahawks to move DK Metcalf, trade would have to be structured to receive a number 23, not Jair either. I think he's talking about the number 23 pick, and either Romeo Doubs or Dontavion Wicks in exchange for a receiver, one of their early day 3 selections. So what he's saying here, and where the rumor got started, Jacob, is the Seahawks are willing to deal DK Metcalf to the Packers. In return, they get the first-round pick, number 23, and they get either Romeo Doubs or Dontavion Wicks, not Donterion Wicks, but Dontavion Wicks here, obviously. So let's pretend that is all factual and it's on the table. Put you on the spot here. Do you pull the trigger on that trade offer right there?
No, I don't. As much as I really do like DK Metcalf, and I feel like that he may be one of the most underutilized talents in the NFL. But just the way it just, I mean, just to back up and just the Mr. Corbin K. Smith, don't know you, got no hate for you whatsoever. But like you said, based on what I've heard, he goes on to say this, and then listen.
I got to stop you, Jay. Does that mean like at the coffee shop? Does that mean at the liquor store he was getting some Steel Reserve last night or something? Somebody said, "Hey, I heard." What does that mean? Basically,
I mean, that's the point. And then he went on to say he's either getting Romeo Dobbs or Dontrarion. It's like if you're saying I heard it from someone, and you one of the two, draft trade bait, prospects that you list there, you don't even get his name spelled right. To me, that breeds a little bit of incompetence, or maybe, or it's just maybe it's wishful thinking, or just pipeline dreams, or just wanting to be first and not necessarily correct. But if let's just say it's true, like you talked about, moving DK Metcalf over, okay, I'd love that. But that means, like you said, at least it means either we're shipping off Jair as in the number 23 or the number 23 pick, which is most likely, and you throw in Dobbs or Wicks. No, I just that to me, I don't want to take the contract on. Again, think about the dynamic, moving somebody else into just the straight number one position in that room. I just don't like the dynamic there. I just don't like it. If you have to make me choose one or the other, I'd say, nah, I'm good.
Right. And that's where I would be in that specific scenario. And I'm going to explain exactly how I got to that point. But there's a lot more to this story. I want to kind of walk through in order, and we'll kind of keep up with the chat as we go here. Drew D says, we'll give our third plus Dobbs for Metcalf and have a deal. Now, would I be willing to do that? For me, it's not so much about giving up the third round pick as it is, do you think DK Metcalf is worth $30 million per year? Yeah. That's what it comes down to, guys. That's why I'm hesitant. And I got to be real with you. I didn't know a whole lot about DK. I know he's a physical specimen. I know the Skittles story, right, and all that stuff where he's a junk food eater and somehow he's completely shredded. But when I went to look at the stats and kind of compare and contrast, I immediately thought I'm going to have my socks blown off, right? Wasn't the case at all. Like, I can pull his stats and just kind of explain what he did. And that's with having a similar situation. They got JSN, right? JSN had a phenomenal year this year as a slot receiver, to the best of my knowledge. He's large majority slot. But then you had DK Metcalf had 992 yards receiving and 5 touchdowns. We're trying to run Jaden Reed's ass out of town for having more production than DK Metcalf. Now all of a sudden we want DK Metcalf, and I know in terms of deployment, you got to step back and go, well, it's two different receivers, Clay. Completely agree. But if you look at it as a whole, is he worth $30 million per year? That's the question. Is he worth $20 million per? Like Jarrell says, I don't think he's worth $30 million a year. What the F, right? Well, again, Jarrell, it doesn't matter what you and I think, right? Greg Rice says $30 million is too much. His fair market value, gang, is $25.5 million. Now, keep in mind, we talked about this last year when we laid out the fair market value, the market, whatever you want to market value calculator on Spot Track. I want to say the number we came up with, Jacob, was they were roughly 7 to 8% lowballed, meaning the player ended up getting more than what the market value showed. So if you take the $25 million, you tack on 6, 7, 8%. Oh, by the way, you're waiting a full year unless they do the deal right now. But the year, I guarantee you, the agent of DK Metcalf is not going to come in and go, let's give him a discount. It's not going to happen. So you're saying, okay, Clayton, well, is he worth $30 million this year? Here are the top salary rankings across the NFL wide receiver. Okay. $35 million. Now, I'm going to ask you point blank, Jacob. Would you take DK Metcalf over Justin Jefferson?
No, sir.
Me neither. So Justin Jefferson's average annual value is $35 million. CeeDee Lamb is $34 million. Now, if someone wants to make the argument that DK is better than CD, I think I would entertain that conversation, but I still believe CD Lamb is a better receiver than DK. Two different types of receivers, but CD can line up a little bit of everywhere, and DK is more of that vertical threat is kind of what it feels like.
Mm-hmm.
AJ Brown, would you take DK Metcalf over AJ Brown? I know I would.
I probably wouldn't. I will be the devil's advocate here, though. I would argue that 100% DK Metcalf has had the worst quarterback play out of all those guys you just listed in his whole career.
Right, and you say that right now, and that's the original road I went down. But if the quarterback play was so damn bad, how did Jackson Smith and Jigba finish with 1,130 yards receiving and 6 touchdowns?
Yeah. Again, that was just devil's advocate.
Right. No, yeah,
I'm just saying. But Danger Russ was definitely on his downward slope when he got into the league, but still was able to be productive. He was splitting it with Tyler Lockett as well. And then, like you talked about, when they brought JSN in, that definitely split the pie a little bit. Probably not to the way that DK to his benefit, and it actually, what's the guy's name? I always forget, who went over to Seattle, the quarterback that just resurged his career.
Oh yeah,
Geno Smith. Yeah, and Geno actually statistically has had some decent seasons there over in Seattle.
It's the thing. Everybody's going, well, the quarterback play will be better in Green Bay. I'm going, boys, if you think Jordan had a better year than Geno, you're not looking at the numbers.
Right.
Geno still 4,320 yards passing, 21 touchdowns, 15 interceptions, and a rating of 93.2.
Yeah, and like you talked about, he had his guy with JSN where it was like they clicked and they were absolutely productive.
Yeah, so go ahead.
No, I just think the argument would be is like we've always talked about, you pay for good, not great. You overpay for good, not great. So right now we haven't seen, there's a lot of potential, like a DK, crazy physique, unbelievable track, like Olympic style speed for his size, the hands to go up and get it capability. But there's just something that's been lacking. There's a little bit of a, something that I just, when you say 30 mil, it's like, no way, no way. Yeah. I just pulled back.
If it was 20, I'd be like, okay, because you may have some untapped potential there, right? But that 30 million mark, and again, I could keep going here. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 30 million is his number. Brandon Ayuk, 30 million. Tyreek Hill, 30 million. Jalen Waddle, 28.2 million. Devontae Adams, 28 million. DJ Moore, 27.5. Cooper Kupp, 26.7, on and on. And obviously those numbers are going to raise, right? DK's number was sitting at 24 million. He's 13th. Average annual value. That's not cap hit. That's average annual value. All right. Yeah, here we go. Josh. Oh, sorry.
My bad, man.
Oh, you're good, man. Josh in the chat said something about taking Tay over. And the thing about Tay is, like, they're most likely you won't need to trade for him. They'll probably cut him unless someone really kind of soars to the top. And I'm not saying Tay, if you removed all the cap numbers, you removed all the draft capital it would take to get that player, I'm not saying that I would take Devontae Adams over DK, right? DK's significantly younger. It's just when you take everything into consideration, the rumors of a first-round pick, oh, by the way, you got to send Romeo Dobbs or Dontarion Wicks, or you know what I'm saying? Like, that's where I get a little, I don't know, man. It just seems a little rich to me. Let me get through these the rest of these chats I have marked here. So obviously Drew D will give our third plus Dobbs for Metcalf. For me, that would still be a no. And I don't want to spoil it. Actually, let's just go ahead and spoil it right now. Let's just do it. The fact that you brung up Dobbs, right? We're willing to trade Dobbs and kind of swap him out for DK plus a third-round pick. I love these little studies I do on Twitter, right? I said, which wide receiver would you rather have? Wide receiver 1 had 901 yards receiving, 6 touchdown receptions, and only a $4 million cap hit. Wide receiver 2 had 995 yards receiving, the same amount of touchdowns, and a $23 million cap hit. Who are you choosing? I'm going with wide receiver 1. Well, guess what?
Is that
wide
Reed?
receiver 1 is Romeo Dobbs.
It's Dobbs?
That's Dobbs. Now, this is why I say that. Now, they go, he didn't have 901 yards. Correct. But if you give Romeo Dobbs the same amount of targets that DK Metcalf have, that would be his numbers. Those would be his numbers. And people go, oh, well, that's conjecture and that's this and that. The reality is when he gets to Green Bay, if they trade for him, you got to make a decision. Does Matt LaFleur continue to work his offense the way he has? Oh, by the way, we were 4th in passing in the league in yards per pass attempt. It's not like our passing offense is bad, and that's with the receivers dropping passes.
Yeah.
So if you're saying, man, if we could take that to first, that wins us a Super Bowl, guys. We didn't get our ass kicked by the Eagles because we didn't have a receiver. We got our face kicked in because we were soft in the trenches when it mattered the most, right? So again, I'm not saying anybody's wrong or right here. Let's look at it from every angle. And I know this, when you look at those two numbers there, if DK comes in and gets the same amount of targets he did, guess what? That means Jaden Reed gets even fewer targets than he did, and his production goes down. Jaden Reed should have had 100 targets. That's the big issue. If Jaden Reed had the same amount of targets that JSN had, or if DK Metcalf had, Jaden Reed would have smoked, absolutely smoked DK Metcalf's numbers. And that's why I love kind of compare and contrast and look at the whole body of work there. But again, going back to the original tweet here, let me get through these real quick. All good. No way give a first round pick. That's stupid. I agree with that, my friend. Huge ass in the chat says, I love it. Third round sounds good. So just a third rounder, sign me up, because you're probably not going to find DK Metcalf in the third round of this draft. There's a chance that Jaden Higgins could be him. There's a chance that a Trey Amos could be him, right? But you got somebody who's a little more proven, right? That I can understand a third for him. I don't think that's unreasonable. DK says, I feel like Seattle is just trying to get us up from a third to a second. That's probably the case, Drew. That's probably the case if these trade rumors are true.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Clayton, but isn't Seattle in draft day that pancake eating? You know what?
He is. You're
don't
correct.
Trust Seattle. Don't trust Seattle, man.
No, never trust Seattle. You kidding me? All right, so let me get back to the original tweet we had here. Let's see here. Paul Grant, you had this on marked. Hey, guys, edge players that looked good to me at the combine were Pierce Jr., Hassan. Hassan, yeah, I think that's right. And Oladejo. Yeah, Pierce ran a 4.5 or a sub 4.5 40, something crazy.
I thought it was a 4.7.
You talking about when you say Pierce? I'm talking about edge defender James Pierce. Now he ran like a 4.5 and some had it at a 4.4.
Did he really?
40. Yeah, that was last night. I remember I was out and about and I got a notification on my phone.
Dang, dude, he ran a 4.47.
Yeah, that's insane, man.
Wow.
Yeah. So anyway, back to the topic here. We get so sidetracked. I love it. So here is what the 33rd team tweeted out: the framework of a possible deal that could send DK Metcalf to Green Bay. Right, DK Metcalf and a 2025 day 3 pick that'll help loosen, soften the blow a little bit for the Packers, right? But we give up the number 23 overall pick and wide receiver Romeo Doubs or Dontavion Wicks. Of those two, here's the thing. Some people would think, well, give them a Dontavion Wicks. I'm a little hesitant on that because this is the last year of Romeo Doubs' deal. If Dontavion Wicks returns back to the way he looked last year, fixes the drop issues, and all of a sudden they end up with a better receiver, oh, by the way, we don't re-sign Romeo Doubs, and now we're kind of left scrapping a little bit. That could be an issue, right?
Yeah.
For sure. So that is the structure of that deal that we talked about. Now, the next thing I wanted to hit on. So we talked about, is it a rumor? Is it not? Is it true? Matt Schneidman chimed in here and kind of threw a wrench into everything. And he said, according to a source, there has been no contact or negotiations as of now between the Packers and Seahawks regarding DK Metcalf trade. Now, you guys know who Matt Schneidman is, right? Matt Schneidman is as plugged in as anybody. If anybody says Matt Schneidman doesn't know, he had a show this year interviewing our head coach. I think he would have at least, at a minimum, as much knowledge as our other friend there with the Seahawks, right? So this is something that may not even be going on. Now, obviously, all the aggregators, they picked up on the story and they started tweeting it out. Now, all of a sudden, it becomes real. It could very well be real, Jacob. It could. I just personally don't. I'm holding off a little bit right now because when I look at what the reports are of the compensation, and then I look at, okay, what's his cap number going to be? That does not feel like a Goody move to me. You know what I mean?
It really doesn't, and it's prime time lying season where it's just you are using every single bit of any kind of thing you can, whether it be the media, whether it be just, a rumor or inside source or a source familiar with the topic, whatever you can do to stir the pot. It's kind of like when I'm like, hey, Emilio, I heard that Tom Holman's in your district. Just, trying to get him up and moving, kind of running around a little bit. But shocker, Emilio comes in here late again.
Imagine that.
No respect. No respect.
I'm sorry.
What are your thoughts, Emilio, real quick? Would you be on board with having DK Metcalf traded over to the Green Bay Packers for a possible first-round pick and Dontravion Wicks or Mr. Romeo Dobbs?
How many times are you going to come to my press conference late?
Yeah, that's what I thought I was going to get hit with.
Yeah, you did.
But, Jacob, that's a hard pass. I should have just cut you off at the beginning. I didn't even want you to waste your breath. I was thinking about it, right? We're going to get rid of Romeo Dobbs, who's Jordan's favorite target, who he's practiced with for 5 years straight now. We got the price where we're at right now. I wouldn't want to spend that on DK. You got to get new rhythm with him. I think that Goody talked about it in his presser, like, hey, there's the kids come out of, like, you're talking about JSN. JSN came out and balled out for 1,100, 1,300 yards, whatever. Where'd he just come out of? College? You know what I mean? Like, let's go in there. You get somebody that's young. They can come out and they can explode. It's not like that's a problem. So I think that would be the move. And I think Goody would maybe, walk that line, see what's there. But I'd rather go to the draft, get a wide receiver, and move on.
And for me, I want to be very clear here. I'm not anti-DK Metcalf. I'm not anti, if for the right price, I think our team would be better with DK Metcalf on it. But when you're talking about a first, a second, or a third-round pick plus a wide receiver, plus you're going to have to pay him $25 to $30 million per year, and that's a whole lot of reach. And that sounds like hey, look, I know we're over budget this month, but man, I really, really would like to have that cheeseburger on the menu. You know what I'm saying? Like,
and I mean, I get it, because the salary cap went up, right? So they think that you have another $20 million to work with, but is that something
everybody else does too, right?
Right, exactly. That's what I'm saying. So they have the possibility to re-sign them. They have you can move funds around, but is that something we want to drop in? Wide receiver is the last one we want to get in place. Are we ready to drop one in and go, or do we think that the base that we have that's already there is sufficient and ready to take this team forward?
Right. Jacob, you got any chats you want to hit that's on this topic? Because I'm going to play a soundbite. I'm going to play a soundbite from Wildy and Tausch here.
Honestly, the greatest thing about our chat is that it's taken on a mind of its own. They don't even really – they comment obviously about what we say, but they're having their own conversations back and forth. I'm trying to keep up with it, but it's basically – I would say 3/4 are not into having DK come here for any of that kind of money that we're talking. And the other fourth are saying – similar things, but maybe we need to shake it up, saying maybe we got to bring Tay back in. I'm one of the guys, again, that went on did my mock, and I drafted 3 wide receivers, and some people in the chat were like, 3 wide receivers? Guys, we have a weird situation at wide receiver. Even though it seems like we're flush, we're really not. And we're 1 year away from, if all things break loose and go bad, we could not have a very deep wide receiver room all of a sudden. So that was why I did that. But let's go on.
Yeah, another thing too that got brought up, and we're going to play a soundbite from Rob Domofsky and his kind of take on the situation. This was on Wildy and Tausch earlier today. But another thing that got brought up was, will the Packers plan on recoup? Oh, I know who it was. Peter Bukowski said, look at everybody. The Packers. I have never met anyone in sports media who's ruffled more feathers than that guy. I'm just being honest with you. Like, me and him had it out the first day I was on Twitter, right off the bat. Well, we got that out of the way. We blocked each other and moved on. But anyway, he had said the Packers plan on getting a first-round pick for Jair Alexander, and that's how they're going to recoup that. I'm going, Wildy stood by his reporting on his show today going, I don't know a GM that's saying they give up a first-round pick for Jair Alexander. When you're talking about him being hurt, the majority of his time, the last 3 years, plus he's a guy who got suspended from the team. Like, there's a lot of question marks there, and it's not to say just like DK for the right price, you wouldn't take a chance on somebody like that. Because when he's at the top of his game, he's one of the best in the league. There's a lot of question marks. Anyway, this is Rob Domofsky over on Wildy and Tausch earlier today. It's about 2 minutes long. I want to see if we can glean anything from what he had to say here. I thought it was an excellent interview for sure. But let's throw Let's use Ledger and Cooper here for this one. All right, here we go, boys. Again, this is on Wildy and Tausch. Go give them a follow at Wildy and Tausch on Twitter. Retweet the video, all that good stuff. Here we go.
Goody has only got 7 picks right now, and he wants more, not less. So that doesn't necessarily fit the MO. He even said this week that he would like to have more than the 7 picks. Now, that being said, there are some things that make it make sense from a standpoint of, Metcalf is 27, I believe. He is on his second contract. He has 1 year left on it. And, the Seahawks might not necessarily want to do a third deal with him. And, they've done business with the Packers before, right? Schneider and Goody, I think they've even done some draft day trades, if I'm not mistaken. So, it's not totally out of the question. Obviously, you're going to have to give Metcalf another contract, which, I suppose is something that they would be willing to do. One thing about DK is, he's really reliable. I think he's played in either 15, 16, or 17 games every one of his NFL seasons. And I think he came into the league in 2019, if I'm not mistaken. So 19,
you are correct on all fronts. Yes,
what was
sir.
that, six seasons or
6 seasons, 97 games, never played fewer than 15 games in a season.
Yeah. So there's a lot of things to like about it. If you're the Packers and you have to give up a pick and a player, you're not going to have – you give up another receiver, you're not going to have Christian Watson until probably mid-November at the earliest. So I'm not sure I'd go that direction. However, given everything they went through with Romeo Doubs, are they to the point where they're thinking they're probably not going to give him a contract extension because he's going into his last year too, right?
He was my guess.
Would that be the guy that you would move? I'd move him before I'd move Dontavian Wicks if it were me. But
all right, so there you go. Obviously, Rob Domofsky on the Wildy and Tausch show earlier today. Just a great interview. That anytime they have him on, man, I think they have a great conversation. But one thing that he pointed out there, guys, I want to get your all's take on it. Availability and accountability with DK, right? That dude, he's been available. He's stayed healthy. That is a positive too. You got to take that into consideration. Now, when you throw in the base salary and the guaranteed money, obviously some of the base salary gets kicked back when the player's hurt. There's a lot of that goes into play as well. But I don't know, man. It sounds like from Rob's take here, it's, hey, it could happen. But am I wrong? Did I misread him? You think, guys, were kind of felt like he was like, probably not going to happen.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. I don't know. I'm trying not to say too much, but I don't agree with a lot of what that podcast says, but it's whatever.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Yeah. I don't know how I can follow that
from
up.
A fan right here.
But yeah, no, it's a possibility, right? But in all seriousness, I liked what Coach Lynn said here earlier. I don't know if I can find it. He said that, right here. Thank you for favoriting that. I want DK in the blocking game, and me. That's what we ask our receivers. That's what
he can block.
Exactly. So I'm not mad at that at all. Like if we got him for the right price, like we've been saying, I'm not mad at it. But I don't think that we need to give up on a young talent to bring DK in. That's why I just don't think unless the trade is going to benefit Goody, I don't think he's going to want to dive into that. I think he'd rather get himself. I guess I've been wrong if Rob's saying that, he wants more picks. I've been wrong. I thought that he wanted to maybe move up and condense a little, but he kind of load up. So,
And Rob's probably going based off of what Goody has said. And we know it's Lions season, right? People,
right.
They're not going to tell you exactly what the plan is. And that could change from day to day. This is what I was talking about here, though. Here was the comparison. The wide receiver on the top, right? Obviously, everybody would pick that guy. And the reason I point this out is because that would be Romeo Doubs' numbers if he had got the same amount of targets as DK Metcalf. And the reason I like to base it off targets and not catches, because catches are unpredictable. when you go how many times you're targeted, that gives you a good ratio, a good understanding. Okay, here's how often this guy's going to catch the ball. Here's how much he's averaging per catch or per target in this situation. When you look at that, man, I would rather take the extra $20 million and spend it somewhere else. Now, here's the thing. We're talking cap numbers this year, okay? And I finagled it a little bit to throw people off, because when I put these up, the whole point is answer the question. And immediately folks want to go to, oh, we need to guess who these are. That's not the point. It's who would you rather have? That's the whole reason of keeping the name off the list. Because everyone would have said, if you just said who you want, Romeo Doubs or DK Metcalf, everyone would have said DK Metcalf, right? Without even looking into, wow, what's the production actually been like? So with that being said, I think everybody's in agreement that you would go with wide receiver 1 here. Now, when you're talking about taking away targets from other places, this is what we got to really mention. Do we want to change our passing game? That's the question I've got for Packer fans. Because my answer is no. We were 4th in yards per attempt last year, or yards per passing attempt last year. Never at any point did I feel like, man, our passing game just ain't there. Now, our running game was definitely on point. Our offense really wasn't the issue until we faced the Eagles, where our offensive line on the interior could not hold up against that Eagles front. So what we're doing now is we're taking guys, there's 18 inches of snow outside, and we can pick between a 4x4 or a Corvette, and we're choosing the Corvette because that thing is sexy as hell. Let me tell you, it looks good. That's the whole point I was trying to make. But go ahead. Is it red?
Is a Corvette red?
It's a little red Corvette, as a matter of fact. Does that make sense? Am I off base here? Like, that's kind of how I'm looking at the whole approach.
I'd be looking at it the same way. I mean, we could spend $20 million a little bit better in other places if we're looking at it, in this context. I definitely think that. But I thought that Professor Cakes had a fair point here. Dobbs can't stretch the field like DK, though.
Very true.
In my opinion, DK is way more impact per play compared to Dobbs. That's fair. Though we do force Dobbs down the sideline. And he does he does catch some of those. So it's not like he can't do it, but I 100% get what you're saying. Like,
does he do it at $25 million plus?
Yeah, right.
That's it.
Well, and here's the other thing. Like, think back this year, Emilio. This year, how many times did we see Jordan take a shot to Romeo deep?
Yeah.
Didn't hardly happen. Last year, remember the sideline catch against the Saints, and he can. I think he can do it. I'm not saying he can do it as good as DK Metcalf, but that's the whole reason why I looked at the numbers and I went, I'll be damned. He's doing it at just as good a rate as DK Metcalf is.
Right.
Like, we can only go off of what we see. And I understand the whole Madden effect. People get on Madden. It's like, man, DK just chuck and duck, and that dude goes up and gets it. I'm sorry, man. These numbers here aren't suggesting that's what he's doing.
Can I pose a question quick to you guys? Because I think that this is what's swaying as I'm reading the chat. It seems like that a bulk of the chat are done with Dobbs. I've seen. I don't want to highlight them because I'm not in the game of hating on players that are currently on the team that are young players. But I will say, if I had to be objective, I would say Dobbs at times, just his overall demeanor. I don't know the guy. I don't know if I would ever be able to make him smile, and that bothers me. Like, there's something there where it's just the projection that he gives as a teammate isn't that kind of like cuddly. And maybe we don't know because all we see are the interviews and the weird kind of, I just caught the ball, the very no emotion. And I would argue that a lot of the fans have probably turned off on him because of the fact that he has that kind of really harder shell where it's almost, you don't know what he wants. You don't know if the guy wants money, fame, if he hates the game, if he loves the game. You can't tell if I don't know how to read him. And that kind of weirds me out in a way. So I just, that one, I don't know about that. And honestly, I can't tell if he's a great culture guy or a bad culture guy. I really don't. He has the most stone-faced poker face of any professional athlete that I can remember in modern times, where it's like, I don't know if he likes being here or if he wants to freaking burn the place down. I just caught the ball. I think that part of it is hindering people's ability or making it easy for people's ability to say either trade him, get rid of him, or keep him.
Yeah.
I just want to pose that. I don't know if that's
I think it's all good points. And like Drew says, I think the Packers might want to get rid of Dobbs to clean up the culture. I personally don't agree with that, Drew, but I can understand how you would see that. But here's my thing. Notice I haven't said anywhere I want to sign Romeo Doubs for $30 million a year.
No.
I don't want to sign Romeo Doubs for $20 million a year.
No.
Right? So the whole thing here is you're talking about this season and then moving forward, you're talking about giving up a first-round pick and Romeo Doubs, one of your better receivers this last year, for one guy to match the same production if he gets. Here's the thing, the whole other angle here, Emilio, that I was trying to hit was if DK Metcalf comes here and people think all of a sudden he's going to get 120 targets. That's not how Matt LaFleur operates.
Right.
So if he gets the same amount of targets as Romeo Doubs and he finishes the season with 600 or 700 yards receiving and 4 touchdowns, everybody's going to be going, Goody's a damn moron.
Yeah. That's not that DK, not that it's going to happen to DK, right? But you're right. I mean, if we have a target share problem already, we're already trying to figure out who we're trying to move the ball to. If we want Tucker Kraft to get more involved, where are those targets?
That's the other thing, right?
You know what I'm saying? Like, if we want to go into 12 personnel, what's Musgrave going to do?
Right. The same fans who were screaming, Matt LaFleur should be fired. We need to get Tucker Kraft more touches. Matt LaFleur should be fired. We need to get Jaden Reed more touches. This is criminal that he didn't get that many touches. Oh, let's bring in DK Metcalf and give both those guys less touches.
Right. Yeah.
What are we talking about?
At this point, let's go get Tim's boy and get Max Crosby in here and let's get it moving.
I mean, Max Crosby.
And again, if you were to say, Clayton, is there a legit shot that they trade for DK Metcalf? To me, it feels like there is. I just think some of the compensation's off, and they probably have had some kind of talks. I got a lot of respect for Matt Schneiden and how he reports. I can't think of one time where Matt Schneiden said something that didn't hold true. So, and the same thing with Wildy as well for me. Like, Wildy has grown on me a lot. And I know, looking at the chat, and Jacob's got his little comments he's going to make. Not everybody's the same, right? Everybody's got their strengths, their weaknesses, and their approach to talking ball. You guys know I suck at everything. That's why that's why this show sucks. So with that being said, 2-0 for this. That's why Tay is perfect. He's been the dude on bad teams, so he'll be cool with his role here while bringing the young guys up. That's the other thing. Like DK Metcalf, he's been available, but how many times have we seen him get into a fight on the field? He drew huge penalties. We drew huge penalties on him while I was in town for that Seahawks matchup, Monday Night Football a few years ago now, 3 years, I think. And they baited the hell out of him to throw him punches and stuff. And then you've seen it again against other teams, him, not losing his cool, that type of thing. That stuff's got to come into factor too. So I don't know. I'm not against DK Metcalf. I roll my eyes at the people that scoff at people that dare question, will we bring in the almighty great DK Metcalf because he is the next Terrell Owens? You know what I mean? It's like, what are we talking about? Because $30 million a year, guys, that's Terrell Owens' money.
I was going to say, hey, let's bring Terrell. Have you seen him run lately? Guy can still play.
Gronkowski said he was coming back, right? They said that he was working out to come back.
Which, by the way, is that what one of the things that feuded the Starbucks war? Is that what we heard? Does anybody know?
No, I don't think that started it.
Yeah, I don't know. There you go. Look, Ron Sample, DK 7 personal fouls last year.
That's a big deal. We're not trying to bring a hothead in here. That's right. Not what we want to do.
Yeah.
What happened when Quay did one? Like, had one of those things.
Exactly, dude.
Oh my God, everybody lost their mind, right? Yeah, Blake B said Lou Holtz loves Max Crosby. If my voice wasn't gone, I can actually do a pretty damn good Lou Holtz listening to Ty. How do
you do a good play on the? No, I can't even do it, man.
You've got to
come on, Clay, do it.
I can't with my voice right. You got to get into that suckering succotash type talk. You know what I'm talking about? Spit all over the keyboard to do it. But anyway, all right. Have we?
I think honestly, the next question you just need to ask the fans, Clayton, is: what do we need? Offense or defensive help? And then we can go from there. Let's stop talking about spending $30 million on a wide receiver right now if we think we need a little bit more help on the defense.
Amelia, just quit talking. We already figured it out. Jarrell Lee says, just bring back Antonio Brown.
Actually,
we got this, dude.
That wouldn't be a bad move.
By the way, off topic, I have not seen the podcast with Theo Vaughn and him yet. Is it good?
I hope
that has to be gold, right? Theo Vaughn interviewing Antonio Brown.
Gotta be.
Josh Martin with the super chat. Thank you, Josh. Appreciate you, buddy. He says, I think Goot LaFleur is over with the wide receiver by committee and being the top in the league for drops in consecutive years. It's hurting Love's development. Did they really lead the league in drops 2 years in a row? Because
We definitely led this year.
I think that might be correct.
I didn't. So we led the league in drops last year. I didn't realize that.
Somebody in the chat fact check that, please. But if that's
drops
the case,
did DK have? Is their question.
That's a good one too. But what are the prospects that are? I remember, was it Jack Besh that basically had like no drops, and I believe there were a few other wide receivers. 2%. And to be fair, we did criticize because we seem to draft in the weirdest ways where it's like, this guy could be good if he just fixed this, and this, and this, and this. He'll be really good, especially on defense. I know, Clay, you've talked about that many times where it's like, this guy's a physical freak. Can he play ball? No, not yet, but we can develop him. But, we've talked about it.
Change him.
I can change him.
Yeah. Josh, I understand what you're saying here, buddy. I don't think it's a bad point. I don't think coaches go into game plans going, all right, guys, here's the deal. Let's get the damn ball to him. Let's just throw it to him no matter what. You know what I mean? You're looking for keys. You're looking for bracket. You're looking for, tips on, all right, what's the defense trying to do to take that player away? And my point was, if Jackson Smith and Jigba, DK Metcalf wasn't even the best receiver on his team last year.
Right.
And again, if you gave Jaden Reed the same amount of targets that Jackson Smith and Jigba got, Jaden Reed has better numbers than Jackson Smith and Jigba and DK Metcalf, for that matter. Way better than DK Metcalf. So I don't think it's as slam dunk as people would think. But and again, Josh, I know you didn't put in the super chat you would pay $30 million for him, right? So right. I'm not trying to put those words in your mouth. That seems to be the going rate. So.
Sorry, do you think there's an incentive for certain players at certain positions? I mean, like cornerback, wide receiver, where it seems as if you get your name in the media's mouth, all of a sudden your stock rises, whether or not it should rise or not. You know
Absolutely.
What I mean?
That's a real thing, man.
It really does feel like, hey, I'm just gonna throw out this, and again, that bids probably as to why it's agents that are all of a sudden being like, hey, man, create this story, send it out there. Is it true? Sources say it is. Sources close to the person says it is. A league insider said it was.
I just hate it for Dontarion Wicks if he got traded.
So DK's drop percentage from last year 4.3% with only 3 drops on the year.
That's not terrible at all.
That's really good, right?
A long of 71 yards after. Let's see, his yak was 262. Yak per reception about 4 yards.
This is a great point here too. Harry Cheese says, Emilio, drops are not all a product of the wide receiver. Go watch the drops. How many were solely on the wide receiver? I mean, I'll never forget them Packer Twitter blowing up over Jaden Reed having a drop where he was full extension trying to catch the ball. It hit his hands and they said it was a drop. I'm like, I don't consider that a drop. Anyway, Emilio, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good. I was just looking at, we were talking about his blocking, his run blocking grades on PFF. He had a 47 to start the season, 61 to 40. Stayed in the 50s. He had one 88.7, another 55, and then an 85.3, and then some more 50s, and ended the season with a 65. So we only had two 88s, and then one 65. So maybe not as maybe we need to check the tape on that too. While we're checking the drops, let's see how he engages downfield. Let's see if he quits on blocks, things like that.
Right. All right. We good on the whole DK Metcalf talk, right? I knew it would dominate the show, but I'm glad we did it. So
yes.
All right, that's going to do it for hour 1. For those of you listening on the pod, we will see you on the other side for hour 2. Appreciate y'all.